record. There you go. So I know, I'm sure we don't have too many sign-ons today because it's kind of getting a little draggy. I mean, how are you guys feeling about this whole thing? 6 weeks. We're 2/3 there now. You guys are all right? You're holding in, hanging in there? Any thoughts? No? Well, I mean, I corrected most of the test two people, the ones that came in. I corrected all of them. And I am very impressed. Everybody so far passed the test. So you guys are doing a fantastic job in terms of trying to get through that material and trying to integrate it as well as possible in this short period. And I'm really proud of you all. If you have not been able to do test two, some of the, it's such a short-term semester. It's sometimes a little hard. I open it again up till next Sunday. And if need be, if you can't do that, be in touch with me so I can work with you guys. We have till the end of the semester, July 22nd, I believe, is the last day of class. It's a little bit of a weird day. It's not a Friday, it's a Thursday, I believe. That's the last day of class. Then we have to have most things in, especially the quizzes and the tests. But until then, I give you room to move around and wiggle around what you need to do to get things done. But so far, you're doing a fantastic job. I've also seen that a lot of you guys have put in the injury prevention and the SALT tracking and other health kit exercises. Can I get a little feedback from some of you guys are on the call, what you got out of these exercises, or did you get anything out of these exercises? And if so, what that you can take with you in your daily life?
I can go. This is Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I haven't turned mine in yet, but I finished it tonight, and it definitely showed me, like, they always say, oh, there's a lot of sodium in like takeout and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't eat that much of it, but
I know. I'm like that too.
I found out that my favorite soup that I eat a lot of, like 4 or 5 servings at a time, I was getting like 2 grams of sodium. And it really freaked me out. I was like, oh my God. And I definitely need to ease up on the Chinese takeout. But I was floored. I couldn't believe there was that much sodium in my favorite soup.
Well, and it's interesting how they actually sometimes they say, like, you really don't worry about counting the sodium you put on your own dishes at home. What really has a lot of that stuff that we don't want in is the takeout stuff.
Yeah, because like on the days where I cooked, like my sodium intake was only about 400 or 500 grams. Not grams, I'm sorry.
Right. The milligrams, right.
Right. But when I had takeout, I was getting 1 and 2 grams at a time, sometimes 3. And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And so I'm glad you're saying that, because that's the thing. I don't want us to be obsessed about it. But once in a while, doing something like that for a week and looking at it for a few things and then doing some adjustments, I think that's totally doable and not too crazy in the mind. We have to be careful about that part also, because, there's this saying that you can have somebody eat the greatest food at Whole Foods and eats it in a car and is all totally stressed out, or you can have somebody eat McDonald's and is totally relaxed and happy. Who absorbs their food better?
Right.
I don't know that. So that's the other side of that. But once in a while, looking at these things is kind of interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Anybody else have some thoughts on that you collected through doing it?
On the posture one, the injury prevention first. So in my job, I'm a telemetry reader.
You're what?
A telemetry reader. So I sit down all day reading the EKGs after someone has surgery.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And so with that, even I was talking about the curvature of the spine or how your head is. So sitting there and sitting on a chair and being mindful about how you're sitting and looking at the screen, because it's like you have to look at the screen the whole time. It made me have to, I know at the hospital they always make sure that you're ergonomic, but it's also different for you to sit there yourself and do it and make sure that you're sitting with the right posture so that you don't end up having a hunch back or like a square butt.
Right.
As you are doing this for a prolonged period, because you're not exercising that many muscles for 8 hours.
Yeah, it becomes a tough one, right? When we have this continuous sitting, it becomes tough to keep the awareness going. Right?
Yeah, so that was good.
Yeah. Good. So did you take anything away that you can implement at your workstation that you thought might be helpful? Like, I don't know, a wedge pillow, or I don't know, or even just the screen side, you know?
So to be able to get up and stretch a little bit, go to the side, do the forearm stretches that was talked about in it, to make sure that my elbows are to the side, because sometimes you're sitting there all the time and I may lean on the table as I'm reading it because I'm getting bored. Like, okay, I'm sitting here.
Right.
And did I see something? Maybe not. Maybe, you know, so yeah. So I'll just have to be more mindful of stretching in place. Because I mean, I don't have to sit in there. Like, I can still stand, but I can still stretch in the little unit that I have.
Did you feel like it was helpful for you, that handout, to learn some of the stuff? Okay, good.
Yes. Because when you're really busy and doing stuff, even though you know it in the back of your head, it's not right directly in front of you until you're in major trouble and then your body is hurting.
I know, that's the thing, right? Yeah, I know. Yeah. Good. Exactly. And then you put it together and you do some of it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's like, you know, I've been in this bodywork thing since I'm 15 years old, because my back's always been kind of crabby, because I skied very heavily as a kid, and then also a lot of sitting in you know, whatever, that kind of work we do. And you know, it's even with all that knowledge, it's got to be, the body has to talk to me before I'm really willing to do a lot of stuff. You know, it's like interesting, but that's partly what is important, I think, with these things like an ergonomic evaluation or so, is to learn how to listen to our body when it says, hey, listen, you know, stand upright or do some stretching, and not just, it's so easy to be in the head and just keep going, you know. Good. Anybody, does that make sense? That's really great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else have some thoughts about these exercises we did in the health kit exercises we did in the last few weeks?
I thought it was really interesting about how I made some observations myself about how they all kind of tied into one another. I work full-time as a personal trainer, and so I have been lucky enough to kind of stay in shape and remain strong through COVID. But because I went completely virtual with clients, my work went from very physical, moving weights, helping load barbells all day, to standing in one spot for hours at a time with my laptop on a laundry basket on my bed. Like, that's my home office setup. So
at least it's a standing workstation, right?
Yeah, but also not at all ergonomic or the right height. My posture has gone to crap. My back has been hurting. I've never had back pain. I've never had knee pain. And suddenly, like, everything feels awful because my activity level shifted so dramatically, and how I'm standing all day shifted so dramatically. So it was interesting to see, between the home office setup and the injury prevention thing, what is now tight that didn't used to be tight, how I'm standing all wonky when I didn't used to stand all wonky, and like what's going weird with my body, and how that's both manifesting visually and physically through movement. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, two things. How, you know, the injury, it's interesting you talk from a personal trainer perspective, because I put the injury prevention together from a chiropractic perspective or orthopedic, because these are tests that sort of are like low tech but high yield tests that give us a lot of information about what's going on, but they're often just taught like in a clinical setting, and then very complicated made in terms of the explanations and all that stuff. How did you feel from a personal trainer's perspective, how these exercises or these tests fit into what you try to, you know, teach customers to be strong in at or flexible with?
They fit in really well within the kind of what you learn within the personal training certification. Several of them are common, like they carry over.
Right.
Side plank, the step test, the hip flexor stretches and stuff. A lot of them are very similar. I learned a lot of those same tests, but I'll do them with clients sometimes. Personally, I notice kind of tightness in those areas in other ways versus these assessments. So like in movement, you can see if the knees are going funny in a squat, versus necessarily like looking specifically at kind of hip flexor mobility or that sort of thing. But it was really interesting to then use the ones that I was less familiar with. Some of them had a lot of carryover and I use them frequently. They're exercises I do with people. And some of them I was like, I hadn't even thought about using that as an assessment for like what it's used for. So that was interesting, and really helpful in a lot of ways.
Good. Yeah. No, because it's, you know, these are the things to try to make the material relevant and not just, you know, theoretical. And they are really, I try to bring in the things that are really from the field and not just like some little exercises. These injury prevention exercises are the ones that can really tell a lot of things in the body that if you're not scoring well in them yourself, then those are the areas to look at to not become a weekend warrior that get injured at some point.
Yeah, they were really applicable and really useful. So I liked that lab a lot.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad. I hope it took me a long time to put it together and feel brave enough to just present it to an anatomy class. You know, it's like,
well, it's great. So thank you for doing it.
But thank you so much for that feedback. Anybody else who has some feedback about the health kit stuff before we move forward to the week's material? Oh, good. If anything comes up, just interrupt me at any time, please. So in terms of, you know, now we've done past test 3 or test 2. Now it seems like you guys are doing really well with the class. So I'm really impressed by that. So again, if anything comes up as questions, you know, talk about it now or text me. We can catch up together on either text or meet on Zoom or so forth to make sure you don't get frustrated about the material because it's moving quite fast. And the part 3 of the material is quite intricate. It's a lot of material, as you've already seen. And I want to make sure that while you go through that stuff, you are keeping in mind, you can see my modules here in Canvas. You can keep in mind under test 3, we have the review. And in the review, it's a little slow. I want to make sure you go and take that test review there and go to that thing. It's a Dropbox file and print that out or download it on some device that you can use it as a guide. As you go through the quizzes and the material, you keep these points as the main points as your guide to what you need to know for the exam. Sorry about all these little prop-ups here. I'm not sure what's up with all of that. There you go. So you keep all of these dots in the head and make flashcards out of those or something. But these are the things that are going to come up on the test. And it will be an open book test. So you can use that. I would suggest you use that next to you while you take the test. Besides those bullet points that are up here on the test review. So again, that was under test 3, test review down in this blue thing, and you click on that. And besides that, of course, we also have the term list, and that's what you're working on by coloring and labeling the pictures that I put in your handouts, in your materials. And now we're on term list 2. And so the term list 2 is the other part of the third exam that's part of it. So the third exam is like a first and second exam combined. So it has some multiple choice true false and then a bunch of also anatomy term questions like we had in the second test. And so that's pretty much it in terms of how that works. When it comes then to the health kit, we basically looking at a few more things. I mean, we've done the salt. If you haven't done the salt, track the salt for a week. You do that. Again, we talked a little bit briefly about it, like the examples between food from the outside when we buy food or when we make food at home. So I think I want you to do that so you can see those contrasts a little bit. For 1 week, and then we have left on the health kit, we have left the gratitude journal, the vision test, and the food journal. The vision test, they'll take you half an hour. That's not a big deal at all. The gratitude journal is something that just before you go to bed, you visual, or in the evening, you think back of the day and think of a few things that made you happy that day when you saw it. Is it a nice sunrise, a nice sunset, some cool thing a kid said, or some nice little smile, or a flower or something like that made you happy, and that's a gratitude journal. That's shown neurologically to help people become happier. There's a great TED talk in the back of the booklet number 5 called "Want to Be Happy, Be Grateful." Maybe that would be a cool one to watch. In the next class, I'll start integrating those to be more watchable on a class thing. But anyway, that take you 5 days or so just to do that a little bit, the vision test. And then the last thing we do is a food journaling. And so in the next couple of weeks, if you do a week of sort of looking at your food that you eat and see. And the food journaling is not like counting your calories. It's more like when you eat, it's like, where did you eat? What did you eat with whom? And what were you thinking about and talking about or feeling when you ate? Did you eat in a relaxed environment at home, or did you eat, driving in the car or going to work and being stressed out because you're late? Those are very influential pieces when it comes to this whole food stuff, that the chemical part of health that we often battle with in our modern world, or probably not just the modern world. But so those are pretty much the last things was left. So the injury prevention thing is, and the ones before then were certainly the big chunks of that health kit part. So what I want you to do in the third portions in the next couple of weeks, what I want you to do is I want you to watch videos, go through the booklets, and do the quizzes and marinate that material in your head as from an understanding perspective. And then when it comes to the memorization part, although it's an open book test, so don't have to memorize that badly. You really have to mostly understand. But when it comes to a memorization part of the test, what's on the test, you go to the test review and you look at these bullets and make sure these things you really understand very well. And then besides that, you do the coloring and the labeling, and you should be all set, and you should be all good for the final. And next week we'll go more through that and do like last week, do like a thorough practical of the practical part of the pictures and all of that, and then you're set to go. All right. So with that, how are you guys feeling about the whole thing? All good? No questions? Yeah?
No, I'm just pretty good. It's a lot and trying to process, so all good.
Yeah, no, that's why I don't want to put more on you. It's a lot in that short. That's why I'm like, just watch videos, look the booklet, do the quizzes, and then, those two pieces are the test, the term list and the review pages, and then you are set from your end. You don't have to feel like then you need to absorb any more than that. All right. All good. Yeah, good. Okay, good. Well, if that's the case, I don't need to hold you. Again, I'm available. If you need me, you catch me on a text and we'll figure out what to do. If a quiz question don't make sense, shoot me a screen picture or whatever it is, and I'll look at it as soon as I can and talk to you about it. So don't get frustrated. Focus on the material, not the frustration. Know that I got you back in how you process this whole stuff. In terms of that, you've been doing your work. Keep that up, and then therefore I'll have your back, and I'm your coach on it. All right.
I was a little late, so I just have a quick question.
Yes,
Did
please.
you cover if on test 3, will it be like test 2 where you have the videos and you have to label the items again?
Yes, there's some test 2, there's some test 1. But I can give you a little thing in test 3. It's not, you don't have to write in the answer, it's multiple choice.
Okay, maybe that'll be helpful for me.
That'll be helpful for me too, because I know it's a tough one. The test 2 is a tough one, because you have to transcribe it over. But I also want to, I want to push it a little bit. And so test 3, it's going to be multiple choice on those things. You don't have to worry about the spelling part.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cool. All right. Anybody else at this point? Questions, comments?
Uh-huh.
Hello.
Oh, my bad. So what would we have to, what do we have to study for the test? What certain chapters?
For the third test?
Oh, I haven't even done the first one.
Uh-oh. Well, the first test is book 1.
Book 1.
The second test is booklets 2 and 3. So those you should text me. And you know my text number, right? You got my text number?
Yes.
So text me and we can talk about those offline like tomorrow or so. Okay?
Okay.
Because those are already passed for the rest of the class. But I'm okay with you having to back it up and catch it up. But you got to be Speedy Gonzalez on it, okay? It's a little bit, it's a lot of material. But the third test, let me show you on the third test, because that's the one coming up. So I want you to focus on that, okay? So the third test, when you go to your Canvas, you know your Canvas, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. So you go your Canvas, you go to the modules. And if you're in the modules, you go all the way down to the bottom, all the way on the bottom. And there it says test review 3, test 3 review. You click on that. And when you click on that, you get these 3 prompts. You got test review, term list, and pictures used on test 3. So you want to click on test review. And so in the test review 3, you're going to get this picture right in here, which is 4 pages of all the information that I will bring in on the test in terms of the multiple choice and true false part of the test. Well, I don't know, 30 questions of that or so. And then the other portion of the test is visualized on the term list, and the term list is right here on that prompt. Like the term list is this, wait a minute, this prompt over here, this prompt here, term list. And when you click on that prompt, you get to this list over here. And these are all the terms that are going to be on models that I'm pointing to in the test. Once you take test 2, you know what that looks like, but it's sort of the practical part of the test. So those are the terminologies you all want to have to memorize.
Got it.
Okay?
And you can find all this in the syllabus, the modules?
In Moodle, in the modules on Moodle.
Okay.
And
thank you.
Make sure, is Eddie, right? Is Eddie?
Yes.
Make sure you reach out to me. It's okay. I'll be here to help you. But I need you to reach out to me for me to be able to help you.
Thank you. That's very reassuring.
Right? Yeah. No, I'll hold your hand through it. Don't worry about it. It's a really fast semester, but I want you to focus on it so we can catch up together with it. And I'll make sure I'll help you through it.
Got it. Thank you.
Make sure I hear from you tomorrow.
All right.
Text me.
I went over that first playlist that you sent me, not earlier, like I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been going over it. So,
okay, so you have some ideas. All right, well, make sure you put a text through for me tomorrow so we can communicate.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So with that, anybody else got something on their mind in terms of the material or the tests or the health kits? And if not, we can close it out early. We don't have to keep going on it. I think next week we're gonna do also review quiz. So make sure you work on the third part on sort of the coloring and the labeling part of it, of course, as well as working through the quiz. But next Monday, I'll do sort of a practice exam again, like we did for the second term last time. And with that, we can basically close it out. Any last thought? Shoot me a text. If not, but other than that, I can think we'll be good for today. All right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good. You guys too. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night.
Thank you.
I'll stay around if anybody has a question. Good night.
Good night.